guys, welcome back to the Friday Vlog, where we discuss activity that goes on here with the BuzWeaver channel. This will be the 101st video of the vlog series, so I appreciate all your guys' continued support of the channel. And of course, what we do here is each week we discuss items that can be found within current events, headlines that are in the news, pop culture, social media, technology, and just items of interest that come up during the week that are worth having a little bit of a dialogue. It is a bit of a departure from what is typically here on the channel, although the Friday Vlog is now kind of part of the regular scheduled activity that's here. So guys, I want to thank all of you for your continued support, and if this is your first time here to the channel, I'd like to welcome you guys here. Or if you are a returning visitor, I would encourage both of you guys now to click on that subscribe down there in the bottom right hand corner. To include those of you who are watching on BitChute as well as DTube, I appreciate all of your guys' continued support. In gaming news, this week I released a Call of Duty Modern Warfare video pertaining to the real-life weapons that can be found in Call of Duty Modern Warfare. You guys can check that out up here in the top right-hand corner. It is essentially B-roll that I took while I was going to firearm training schools, and I wanted to just kind of cover some of the real-life weapons that can often be found in first-person shooters. So you guys are welcome to check that out right up there in the top right-hand corner. Towards the end of last week, President Trump authorized a drone strike against General Qasem Soleimani there in Iran. Of course, this comes on the heels of the recent attack of the U.S. Embassy there in Iran, but also it includes the base that was attacked near Kirkuk that injured several military personnel as well as killed an American contractor. Now, this seems to have been lost by the media, despite the fact that they covered the attack on the embassy, as they call it, a protest, but it was actually an organization of militants going after the base, just based upon some of the footage that we've seen, some of the images. Of course, these were not a grassroots after 5 o'clock after work, let's get together and protest the American embassy. No, not at all. And of course, we are very aware of the activities of the various groups that have been supported by Iran. Now, I have to say groups, of course, you know exactly who I'm talking about because of the YouTube algorithm. I have to kind of just speak in plain language to you guys, but you obviously know what I'm talking about. Soleimani was part of and was one of the chief orchestrators of a lot of the activity that was going on within these groups throughout the Middle East, and it was escalating. And so President Trump did take action, and of course he did speak earlier today as of this recording on why he did that, because there were many individuals questioning the extent of and or reasoning behind it. And of course, we already know, as I just mentioned, there was the recent attack against the base in Kirkuk, and of course the U.S. Embassy, which was part of the mainstream media for several days. So it's interesting how conveniently the mainstream media seems to have forgotten all about this. And then on Tuesday, we saw that 15 ballistic missiles were launched towards the base of Al-Assad there in Iraq. Now, we haven't gotten any information on injuries or extent of damage. And so as far as we know right now, at least, there doesn't seem to be any particular damage or injuries or other types of things that were very concerning or would cause the president to react to that. So as of now, of course, we heard from Sky News saying that the Iranian news had mentioned that there was some damage and maybe even some potential injuries or deaths of American citizens there in those bases. But as far as we can tell, there have not been any of that. None of that has been corroborated or confirmed. But nonetheless, of course, this might have been a saving face move by Iran, of course, because of the general being a very popular figure. And of course, the people of Iran wanted some sort of response. And we can understand that these countries, or countries in general, want to feel as though their governments are strong and are, part of the force within the world to, give them a sense of security within their own government and their leadership. So, of course, we'll have to continue to keep an eye on the story. And as I mentioned earlier, President Trump did come out today and give a more defined and or refined explanation yet again, because of course the mainstream media are always going to be driving their particular narrative concerning what's going on in the Middle East and their concerns about President Trump's and his actions there. But President Trump has illustrated and demonstrated specifically that his intent is not to have any type of escalation into war, and he is kind of an anti-war president. One of the very few presidents that we have that is very anti-war. So there's a lot of these things to take into consideration. But this has been a rather front and center news story, despite the fact that, as you guys know, the Democrats have not submitted articles of impeachment just yet. So it is kind of interesting how this is kind of, taking the lead now. But nonetheless, I will leave links to the additional information as it develops and as has passed by this week and early last week down there in the published section below this video. It is my belief that 2020 is going to be the year of truth and reality, and we saw a huge dose of this from Ricky Gervais there at the Golden Globes in his monologue, where he went after many of the elites there in Hollywood. And as you are aware, many of those individuals have been on social media espousing their ideologies, philosophies, and worldviews for quite some time. And I thought it was amusing that he compared their intellectual level or education to that of Greta Thunberg, the climate activist. And of course, he took shots at Felicity Huffman, of course, and maybe some light jabs at DiCaprio and even Scorsese, but those really weren't as aggressive as when he went after Apple, with Tim Cook sitting right there in attendance, as well as Amazon and Disney. But nonetheless, it may be fair to say that Ricky pretty much said things that perhaps we have been discussing about here on the channel for quite some time, and perhaps what has been in the hearts and minds of many Americans who get drowned out by these elites who do like to go on social media platforms and are propped up by the mainstream media. So seeing Ricky come out and just kind of level all of these individuals, if nothing else, to take them down a notch, because we see them trying to do that to President Trump as well as members within his administration and his family. So of course, Ricky got a lot of backlash for this, but nonetheless, this was his last appearance to do the Golden Globes, as I understand it, and as he mentioned. But nonetheless, I have to say that I was very happy to see what he did and his delivery of his dialogue. Now, of course, it's kind of funny that once you go off the tribal speak or the narrative within the tribe of these groups of individuals, which is just kind of a collective bubble of individuals, they then go after you. And it was kind of amusing to think that they had actually identified him as right wing. Now, the mainstream media didn't really go into this very much, I guess because they don't want to give Ricky too much of a platform. They want to save that platform for narrative-driven individuals who want to be able to talk about the items and points of interest that they, as the media, want to talk about, which is always going to be going after Trump or the administration or supporters of Trump, of course. But nonetheless, if you guys have not seen the Ricky Gervais monologue there from the Golden Globes, I will include that down in the comments section below. It was absolutely amazing. Very much a lot of the things that we talk about here on the channel. So by all means, go down below the video, click on the link, and check that out. In a follow-up to the stories that we had been talking about in 2019 as it referred to the Covington kids, and more specifically Nicholas Sandmann, he won his settlement against CNN for $272 million. As you guys may recall, Nicholas Sandmann was attending a function with his schoolmates from Covington there in Washington, D.C. when they were approached by Nathan Phillips, the Native American veteran, who the media suggested was being harassed and antagonized by the kids, and they weren't, because a video was produced shortly after all of the social media assaults and attacks against him had been put out, as well as all the attacks by the mainstream media. And as you guys may recall, his attorneys were going after many of these individuals in the mainstream media, as well as celebrities and other groups of individuals that were slandering and defaming the group. And so a small victory for him. Now, we know that he was also going after the Washington Post, among some of the other mainstream media and individuals. Now, many of the celebrities and others had retracted what they said. They had deleted their tweets. But nonetheless, of course, it's still out there in the sphere of the internet. So we'll have to continue to keep an eye on his successes. But as I mentioned, 2020 being the year of truth and reality, I'm very happy to hear this news. I will post a link down in the published section if you guys want to follow up on that report. And that's going to wrap it up for the Friday vlog. A very busy week. Hopefully the sound quality is going to be good because, of course, I've already gone through the entire dialogue for the Friday vlog, so I'm hoping it should work out just fine. There was a loose connection there with the microphone, so hopefully it'll be all good this week. So guys, be sure to drop a like now to show your support of the channel. And of course, appearing there on the screen now, the obligatory channel icon, which you guys can also click on to subscribe, as well as click on notifications. That way you guys will know when there is additional content here on the channel, to include the Friday vlog. And I will see you guys right there behind the camera next week.